Okay, I'm going to turn things over to Linda, who will take the requisite legal steps to formally open our governance committee meetings.
I note that Todd Sherman, representing the Director of the Division of Budget, is participating in the meeting via video conference from the New York State Division of Budget Conference Center in the Capitol Building, room 131 in Albany. Todd, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. I will ask for motions and seconds to call to order the June 15, 2017 Governance Committee meetings in the New York State House of
Gonzalez is here.
and the State of New York Mortgage Agency. May I have a motion for HFA
So moved.
and a second?
Second.
Thank you. A motion for Sunny Mae?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Please note that Steve Weiss is the Governance Committee Chair for HFA. Commissioner Gusnakis is the chairperson for Sunny Mae, will chair the meeting for Sunny Mae. As items are presented to committee throughout today's meeting, motions and seconds, as you know, will be used unless specific items call for a different vote, or unless any committee member wishes to record his or her vote differently. For purposes of convenience and to make sure that the respective meetings go smoothly, items shared by one or more agencies will be presented by HFA AHC Committee Chairperson Weiss.
Okay, shared items. Item 1, the following minutes for HFA and Sony May committee meetings held on April 13th, 2017 shall be deemed approved, absent corrections from the members and directors. The 51st HFA Governance Committee members meeting and the 51st Sony May Governance Committee Directors Meeting. Item 2, resolution recommending the review and approval of HFA mission statement of the agency, and this is for HFA. Alex, good morning.
Morning. So this has been one of the really lead projects for the Governance Committee over the last year, I would say. As folks know, we're required to adopt a mission statement. We did that in '05, and we're required to annually review it. We've done it every year in January. Really starting 2 years ago with Steve taking the lead, we've been looking at the mission statement to try to make it more specific and more targeted to the way the agencies operate. This originally, when they were adopted, the goal was to make them very general. So at first, we did some work on it and waited until the housing plan got approved to make sure that we could dovetail a lot of what we were doing with the housing plan. When that got approved, we still had some issues to tinker with. So in January, we reviewed it, and with a couple of changes that have been made, but left it for later in the year. The committee has been working with some of the committee members and senior staff to try to revise it, and that's what the committee now has before it. We sent you a clean version and a red line. The main changes really are in the main section. We in January included a lot of the categories that we had taken from the housing plan, but in our haste, I think we included some of the programs that are more general to HCR and not specific to HFA. So we deleted that. And then more importantly, in the measurements, I think the goal was to emphasize the productive or creative use of financing mechanisms as opposed to the way we said it before, to make sure that we captured volume cap as well as other resources. We rephrased the way that we present the fair housing goals. And more importantly, in the role of board members, there was a desire on the part of the committee to have staff. We, again, at Steve's urging, this was maybe 3-4 years ago, we put in that we would be providing quarterly reports to the board after projects got done to show the HFA board what we did in the prior quarter. And I think what the desire now is to have staff provide the board with the same type of quarterly report, but doing that in advance of the projects coming to the board to show the board, the pipeline in its embryonic stages, and so that board members can ask questions or get a sense of what staff is looking to before the item comes up for an approval. That's going to be an adjustment for our staff, and I think may take some time to get everything worked out because of the scheduling issues. But at least it's, I think, a mission-driven goal. So anyway, those are the major changes, and we'd like to have them approved, and then we will file them with the PARA system as this year's revision. We will review them again in January, as we do, tie them to our actual achievements, and continue the exercise.
Great. The only thing I would add, and just to thank the senior staff for their involvement, Alex, you, and Adam Schuman and Linda for your work on this over the period of time. It's been terrific and great to work with you.
And we thank you and Nestor for participating. That's what the governance committee should be doing. Okay?
Great.
So, you were going to call for a vote.
I guess, Linda, I'll ask you to.
Sure. Now before the HFA committee is a resolution of the governance committee of the New York State Housing Finance Agency recommending the review of the mission statement. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HFA committee, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great, thank you. Item 3, resolution authorizing the approval of consultant services contract with George Liacata, and this is for Sony May. Ms. Eccles will discuss this. Good morning.
Sorry.
No worries.
Good morning, everyone. So what we wanted to present before the board today is a procurement item for a contract to engage George Liacata as a consultant to continue supporting our Sunny May Express system. And actually, this was something that was part of an original package that was voted on by the board when we were talking about purchasing Sunny May Express, the software, that we were going to hire 2 outside consultants and retain George in order to continue the maintenance. The one thing we didn't do was take the extra step of having it voted on as a procurement item for the board, so we're going back to remedy that today.
Can I just add one thing? So I think we got George's contract approved by J-COPE, sent them a memo, got their formal approval, the constraints, went again because they continued another year. And the only reason this is here is that internal audit audits the procurement section of the agency. It was their view, not mine, that this was a contract that needed to come before the board. I viewed it as a personnel matter, and it had been approved by J-COPE, but that's why it's here.
Great. Linda?
So now before the Sunny May Committee is a resolution of the Governance Committee of the State of New York Mortgage Agency approving a contract with George Liacata for consultant services. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the Sunny May Committee, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried and the resolution adopted.
The next 2 items on the agenda are information items. There will be no discussion on the following items unless board members or directors so desire. Item 4, review of contract with Radian Guarantee for mortgage servicing and reinsurance services for Sony May. And item 5, review of the basic loan servicing agreement with Greystone Servicing Corp. Incorporated for HFA. There being no unfinished business, I'll ask for a motion and second to adjourn the HFA and Sony May members and directors committee meetings. Linda?
Assuming the first and second previously entered for HFA and Sunny May committees, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried, the meetings are adjourned. The next governance committee meetings are scheduled for Thursday, September 14th, 2017. We will now turn to the meeting of the audit committee.
I'm going to turn things back over to Linda Mann, who will take the requisite legal steps to formally open our meetings.
I will note that Todd Sherman is still representing the Director of the Division of Budget and is participating in the meeting via video conference from the New York State Division of Budget Conference Center at the Capitol Building, room 131 in Albany.
Hello.
Hello. I will ask for motions and seconds to call to order the June 15, 2017 Audit Committee meetings of the New York State Housing Finance Agency, the New York State Affordable Housing Corporation, the State of New York Mortgage Agency, the State of New York Municipal Bond Bank Agency, and the Tobacco Settlement Financing Corporation. May I have motions for HFA and NHC?
So moved.
And second? Motion for Sunny May?
So moved.
And a second? That's you.
Second.
Motion for MBBA and TSFC,
So moved.
and a second?
Second.
As items are presented to each committee throughout today's meeting, these motions and seconds will be used unless specific items call for a different vote, or unless any committee member or director wishes to record his or her vote differently. Please note that Chairman Thompson is the agency's chairman and will chair the audit committee for MDBA and TSFC. Ms. Miller is the audit committee chair for Sunny May. Mr. Davidson is the audit committee chair for HFA and AHC and will chair the meetings for HFA and AHC. For purposes of convenience and to make sure that the meetings of the respective agencies go smoothly, items shared by one or more agencies will be presented by Mr. Davidson.
The following minutes shall be deemed approved, absent corrections from members and directors. The 64th HFA Audit Committee members meeting, the 59th AHC Audit Committee members meeting, Sunny May Audit Committee Directors meeting, 51st MBBA Audit Committee Directors meeting, and the 50th TSFC Audit Committee members meeting. We will now move to the action items. Item 2, resolution approving internal audits information technology audit report. Mr. Chopier.
We reviewed the data center operations and the systems of internal control for the IT group as of December 31st, 2016. The IT group is responsible for the operational efficiency of the agency's hardware and software applications, which include the PCs. They are responsible for the physical security, the systems upgrading, project maintenance of software, maintenance of documentation, as well as the disaster recovery plan for the agency. Currently, the IT group is in the process of replacing the agency's Fox Pro system, which the agency's software system, majority of the software system resides. The actual project is the BAM project, which is the Business Application Modernization Project, which is being installed by the Phoenix Business Applications Group. And also, the benefits of this program, this system, is that we would not have to rely on outdated outsourced software, modernization of our software as well, and also decrease in the manual processes as well as operational efficiencies. Our audit included a review of the limited review of the operating policies. We looked at the inventory control, we looked at project management, and we also, of course, looked at the internal controls. The result of the audit was that we were able to satisfactorily achieve our audit objectives. There were no items in the report, therefore management did not have to respond to the report, so we're asking you to approve the report itself.
Just one quick question.
Sure.
So this was obviously a somewhat limited audit. Is there a separate audit going on of BAM, or will that be done after it's completed?
When it's completed, we're going to be involved with the testing, but it'll be more done after we're completed, because there's so much involved in the scheduling and how it's going on.
Okay, thank you.
So now before all 5 committees is a resolution of the audit committees of the State of New York Mortgage Agency, the State of New York Housing Finance Agency, the State of New York Affordable Housing Corporation, the State of New York Municipal Bond Bank Agency, and the Tobacco Settlement Finance Corporation, reviewing and approving internal audits information technology audit report. Assuming the first and second previously entered for all 5 corporations, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motions are carried and the resolution is adopted.
Item 3, resolution approving internal audits low-income housing tax credit audit report.
Okay, here we looked at the accounting practices and internal controls for the program as of September 30th. The low-income housing tax credit program provides an incentive for individual and corporate investors to rehabilitate or acquire affordable rental housing. It provides an indirect federal subsidy to the investors, and it also finances the low-income projects and allows the investor to apply the credit towards their federal income tax return. In order to qualify for the credit, it must meet the low-income housing project program requirements, which includes a 40% set aside for renters of area median income of 60% or less, or a 20% set aside for renters who have an area median income of 50% or less. As of our audit date, there were approximately 269 million in credits that were awarded to about 325 projects. Our audit included a review of projects to determine that the credits were properly awarded. We looked at regulatory agreements, cost certifications, and of course, internal controls. The result of our audit was that we were able to satisfactorily achieve our audit objectives. There were 2 items in the report. Management has responded to them, and we're asking you to approve the report and management's response.
Sorry, 2 quick questions on this as well. So this was 4% or both 4% and 9%?
Just
Just the 4%, okay. And one of the objectives of the audit was to determine whether developers applying for credits are willing to conform to the requirements under Section 42. Do we have any responsibility for back-end compliance?
Yes, we would.
And that would be a separate process?
Process, yes.
Okay. And that wasn't covered? Okay,
Well, it was covered in part of the regulatory review.
I see. Just not called out, okay.
I'm sorry.
And is the 269 million, is that over a 10-year period, or is that the 1 year?
Yes, it certainly applies to both.
Okay.
Okay. If there are no more questions, now before the HFA committee is a resolution of the audit committee of the New York State Housing Finance Agency reviewing and approving internal audit's low-income housing tax credit audit report. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HFA committee, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried and the resolution adopted.
Item 4, resolution approving internal audit servicer audit of City Mortgage Incorporated.
Okay, here we looked at the mortgage records and the systems of internal control for the single-family mortgages that are serviced by City Mortgage as of July 30th. As of our audit date, they were servicing approximately 167 million in mortgages. City Mortgage is a subsidiary of Citigroup, who had approximately 1.7 trillion in assets as of 12/31/15. They're a full-service mortgage group that deals with acquisitions, originations, and servicing of residential and commercial properties. They're participating in all the programs. Their payments can be made at lockbox operations or any one of their branches. And of course, their deposits are FDIC insured. The result of our audit was that we were able to generally satisfy our audit objectives. We feel that management should pay closer attention to the servicing of loans in the process of foreclosure. As a result of our audit, we're requesting that management seek either an indemnification or the repurchase of approximately $1.5 million in loans that they're servicing. There were 3 items in the audit report which management responded to, and we're asking you to accept the report and management's response.
I have a question, if I
Sure.
may. Are the findings that you identified in this audit normal?
Not normal in the sense that we're requesting the repurchase or indemnification of loans that weren't processed according to our policies and procedures.
I was
Excuse me,
kinda
could you speak a little bit louder, because when
Oh,
you're
I'm
making
sorry.
that way, it's hard to hear this end.
No, I was just saying it's not a normal exception in the sense that we're requesting them to repurchase the loans because they haven't followed our policies and procedures.
Just I was a little surprised. It seems like sloppiness to me on those 3 fronts.
Well, what they're doing is they're processing the mortgages according to their own policies, which are quite different than the agencies. And therefore, they've caused problems in the legal actions taken against the foreclosures, which are delaying the foreclosure process for many years. Some of these loans have been in foreclosure for 8 to 10 years already and still have not been resolved.
And what's the term of our contract with Citigroup?
Well, we have a master agreement with them, servicer agreement, and it's ongoing.
That's renewable annually, or
No, it's once it's in place, unless we take the.
Revoke it.
Revoke it, yes.
thank
And
you.
if you terminate it, what's the terms or time period on
Well,
that?
we have to notify them of the termination, and then we have to arrange to have those loans transferred to M&T Bank, which is our master servicer.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm sorry.
So, for those mortgages which are, have been in foreclosure for an extended period of time, 5 years, 10 years, is there anything that we can do to move the process along? In addition to just making sure that they conform with our procedures.
Right. I mean, we can monitor them, and some of these loans are now being, or in the process of being transferred to M&T Bank, which is our master servicer, which is a very excellent servicer, and their system, their approach to handling our mortgages have done well in terms of legal action proceedings, and also negotiating with the mortgager to try to get loan modifications.
And what happens to the homeowners during this extended period of limbo? Are they
Well,
paying twice?
they live on the property sort of rent-free, mortgage-free. They're not making payments, so the payments are becoming delinquent, and we are picking up well, fortunately, we're tax exempt, so we don't pay taxes on the property, but the
And the-
legal actions, all the PMIs were all under the.
Are they responsible then for the delinquent payments, for the payments that are missed?
What, you mean the borrower?
The borrower?
They would if they were to bring the loan current, but in most cases it goes to foreclosure, and then our MIF group or someone else picks up the insurance of it.
Are there any additional questions? And now before the Sunny May Committee is a resolution of the Audit Committee of the State of New York Mortgage Agency reviewing and approving the service of our audit for City Mortgage, Inc. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the Sunny May Committee, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Item 5, resolution recommending approval of AHC's March 31st, 2017 financial statements.
Morning. My client, Louis Roberts, the partner from Ernst & Young, will be providing the required communications going along with the AHC audit. The AHC audit was clean, there were no findings, and some of the highlights were that we present in the annual report. The traditional appropriation that AHC receives has been about $25 million, which is what we received in 2016. In 2007, for fiscal 2017, we received a $26 million appropriation, and that compares with the $29 million appropriation the year before. And during the past year, the amount expended for housing grants was about $33 million compared with $28 million the previous fiscal year, and the amount that has been awarded for grants going forward was $44 million in 2017, and in 2016 it was $33 million. Any other questions on the actual report before I hand it over?
Yeah, just so that I understand and I'm not misreading the numbers, and this is obviously about the accuracy of the financials and not the financials themselves, but as long as you're here.
Sure.
So am I reading this correctly, that our net position in AHC in 2015 ended at 27 million, last year ended at 19 million, this year ended at 6.6?
Okay, over the past few years, we have been expending funds that are on deposit already in the account. So when we had originally received these funds, we had taken it as income, which increased net position. As we expend those funds, it's an expense. Now, at the end of the past fiscal year, we had already expended almost all of the funds that we had received in advance, that we had on deposit. We were down to about 1.5 million of the repayment funds that we had received but had not dispersed prior to a couple of years ago. At this point, it should be pretty much a break even every year. It won't be a deficit because we only recognize expense to the extent that funds are received, but we won't have that big surplus anymore because all those funds have been expended.
So this isn't a structural issue, it's just a pay down of funds we had.
Yes, it's a pay down of funds that were on deposit.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. At this point, we've concluded our procedures related to the audit of AHC. We are going to issue a clean opinion, which is an unmodified opinion. It will be dated today's date. The only open item is for me to receive the signed rep letter, which we'll obtain right after this meeting. Some of the areas of focus is on cash. We audit the investments, which consist of U.S. Treasury bills and the dormitory authority bonds, the payables between AHC and HFA, the housing grants payable, the recognition of the grant revenues, and the repayments received from the homeowners, the recapture of the housing, or the recognition of the housing grant expenses, and the administrative salaries. So those are the most significant accounts that we place focus on. There were no significant deficiencies, no audit adjustments were recognized. We didn't have any difficulties encountered in performing the audit. Again, there was no issues with internal control. We'll be issuing a clean opinion. And that pretty much concludes the results presentation.
So now before the AHC committee is a resolution of the Audit Committee of the State of New York Affordable Housing Corporation reviewing and approving the audited financial statement for fiscal year 2016-2017. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the AHC committee, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
The next item on the agenda is a consent item. There will be no discussion on the following item unless board members or directors so desire. Item 6, resolution recommending approval of independent auditor's report relating to the audit of the schedule of expenditures of federal awards.
Now before the HFA and Sunny Mae committees is a resolution of the audit committees of the New York State Mortgage Agency and the New York State Housing Finance Agency, reviewing and approving the audited schedule of expenditures and federal awards for the single audit report for fiscal year ended October 31, 2016. Assuming the first and second previously entered for HFA and Sunny Mae, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried and the resolution is adopted.
The next item on the agenda is an information item. There will be no discussion on this item unless committee directors or members so desire. Item 7, annual review of independent audit contracts with Ernst & Young LLP. There is no unfinished business. I ask for motions and seconds to adjourn each of the 5 agencies, members, and directors committee meetings.
Assuming the first and second previously entered for all 5 committees, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried, the meetings are adjourned. The next audit committee meetings are scheduled for Thursday, September 14th, 2017.